Register everything. Show how and how easy it is.
Has
Yeah, you
I don't.
Well,
That's fine.
I heard Bob Voyage.
Has anybody ever registered a domain? Has anybody not registered a domain? All right. So for the three of you, before.
Tell them to the French maids where they show the French maids do.
Awesome.
Oh,
Good idea.
good call. Yes.
That'll appeal to the men in the audience.
Okay. Well, first of all.
And just.
Well, hold on, but you have to admit. I mean, I can't.
I
Clearly, it's a satire. You have to admit it's funny. I mean,
It is
maybe
funny.
I'm wrong.
I'd like to create a website, a podcast called FrenchMen.com and have French men do
Do
delicious
it.
things.
Do it.
Do I have any friends?
Tristan Homer is here. You can get him to do your videography.
Very good. Yeah, introduce me.
All right. So GoDaddy is a domain registrar. They will sell you a domain name and stuff like this. If you want to save some money, this is InOverYourHead.net, Julian Smith's site. You go down to the left-hand side. GoDaddy promo codes, and you get some sort of discount. I don't use GoDaddy personally, but if you do, use Julian's link, and I don't know if he gets anything out of it, but I know you save a couple bucks.
Even if you do watch the French maids one, they do give you a discount code as well.
Yeah, but I don't know the French maids personally. I know Julian Smith personally,
Very good.
and he's a good guy. He's a community guy, so.
Fair enough.
He's here this weekend somewhere.
Yeah, where is he?
Yeah.
In the corner. There he is.
That's another
Oh
guy.
my God! Did you get money out of that? Did you get? Okay. So do you want me to?
Dude bought a house off of his.
So every time you buy a domain, Julian feeds a kitten.
There's a space between French and Maine.
Google, take me where I want to
There you go. Ooh la la. That's down.
be.
Have you ever met Tim Street?
No, I haven't.
well,
All I
yeah.
know, he makes $50,000 an episode for his sponsors.
Hold on.
All these wires.
Are those the maids?
There you go for it.
As in maid and
It's okay.
Welcome to French Maids, the video podcast How To by French Maids. In day-to-day life, many things happen. Whether you are at work, at play, or having some private time. Ideas of inspiration can come at a moment's notice. Sometimes these ideas make us want to register a domain, especially for men. We like to call them .com moments. And now, how to register a domain? To register a domain, you will first need a computer, an internet connection, and a credit card. Step 1. Visit a site that specializes in domain registration, like GoDaddy.com. GoDaddy gives you domain names for just $1.99. The purchase of a non-domain product. Your domain includes personalized email, a website builder, your own blog, and more. Step 2. Type the name you'd like to register into the search box and click Go. Step 3. The next screen will tell you if the domain you want is available. Keep in mind, there are many different types of domains. And besides .com, there is .net, .name, .tv, and many more. Before moving on, carefully consider protecting the value of your domain. Think about purchasing similar domain names before so many stores. GoDaddy will show you the names instantly, and then you can decide which ones you want. This may take a while, so find something else to do, like chopping wood. Now, where were we? Step 4. Once you've selected the domain names you want, click on the Continue button. Step 5. Choose additional products that help you put your domain to work. like hosting for your website, or maybe even hosting for your own podcast, GoDaddy gives you helpful options to consider. Again, please take your time to think about the one-to-one. This may take a while, so find something else to do, like take a bubble bath. Review your order, and you are almost finished. Step 7. Last, especially for reviewers, GoDaddy is extending a special offer. Enter code FMTV at checkout, along with your credit card, and you will get 10% off your order. Some restrictions apply. Congratulations! The domains are yours. Now celebrate! Don't miss the next episode of French Made TV. Just visit FrenchMadeTV.com and click on the subscribe for free button. While you are there, support French Made TV by downloading French Made TV wallpaper and ringtones. And remember, code FMTV at GoDaddy.com for 10% off. And as always,
Thank you for watching French Made TV.
please send your questions and comments to podcast at FrenchMadeTV.com.
You need to make a video with your own hash code.
I want to see you and maybe Mark having a pillow fight on a bed. So, video versus audio. Any questions? Would that have worked as an audio podcast, right? No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Probably take that off.
Podcasting, yeah, podcasting. So, you register your domain. You've covered why you want to own your domain. And
yes.
so that's kind of thing. You just
Does anybody need to
half
see
an
more?
hour.
Like, does anybody actually want to see a domain registration happen? 3 people who hadn't seen it before. Do you guys want to see it? Because we can do it.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you could play it again.
No. Like,
Now,
actual-
when you register with like a GoDaddy or one of these domain sellers, what they'll do is they don't make money with that, really, because they have to send a lot of that money to ICANN, which is the worldwide body that controls domain names and stuff like that. They end up making like not even $1, I think, on a domain name. Where they make their money is on the hosting. And yeah, the upsell, right? So it's like get in with a cheap domain name, then they'll sell you the hosting package, and they'll sell you the other thing. Well, you're doing podcasting, you're gonna need lots of bandwidth. So that's where, and that's that's legit. That's where they make their money. But not because you buy your domain name through anybody in particular that you have to host there. For example, CanadianPodcastBuffet.ca, you can't buy a .ca name through GoDaddy, I don't think.
No.
So you have to buy it through one of the Canadian domain name providers. But you can still have, like I've bought several .ca domains, but I don't have the hosting with them. I still have the hosting over on my US-based hosting package that I run. You can just point it over.
Yeah, just one. I want to agree with you. You can buy domains from there.
Well, no, something what we used to do.
I buy a ton of domains, and I host with like a ton of different companies. You feel free to register with whoever you want. I register with Moniker usually, moniker.com, and I think they're amazing. But don't ever host with GoDaddy, even if you register with them. Generally, they're known to cause problems.
Okay.
I don't know that you want to necessarily have your domain, like your actual content hosted by a domain name provider specifically. That's not their core business.
I think I posted this domain names.
Yeah.
So the idea is that you register the domain name with them, and as part of the domain name setup, there's what they call the name server. So you go into the wherever you register your name is going to say, okay, well, where is the files? Where is this site? And you fill in 2 fields and say, well, everything's over there. So the domain is held by somebody else, but your files is pointing to your file. So it's pretty easy to do.
So you're redirecting.
No, you're not actually redirecting, because when you buy the domain, it's as part of the domain definition, it says, okay, here's the name and here's where the files are. And so the here's where the files are, instead of pointing to them, points to something else. So it's not really redirecting. It's just It's that the definition, so it's not a redirect, because redirect has a different connotation to it.
Oh, I don't, so what is a different connotation?
Well, the different connotation of redirect is that there's actually two sites and one bounces to the other. And so for Julian could probably explain that better than I could, but like Google and things like that, when there's redirects, it doesn't handle it as well because it actually sees the same thing at two different sites, right?
Go to IHateChrisBrogan.com.
I hate Chris Brogan. All right.
That's a redirect.
It's a redirect to
Chris. I can't even type it out. I hate Chris Brogan. It redirects to Uncle Seth. So that's a redirect. Whereas if you went straight to musicface.com/Uncle Seth, that's direct.
That actually just forwards to the page. There's another redirect that'll keep the URL there as well.
Yeah, so that's the difference between a redirect and just the page, if you want. So the redirect actually has different.
It changes what's in the address line, whereas the other one, it brings it up here. there.
No.
You know, honestly, when I said pick a host that does domain names, it takes care of it all for you. You register, you get a hosting plan, get the domain name, and everything's done. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. If you don't have hosting or anything.
Well, for example, I can give an example. I use one-in-one because they're cheap, and I'm cheap, so it kind of fits. And let's see if I can. Now, one-in-one, they're worldwide. They're a German company, and they have U.S. servers, and but they can't sell you a .ca domain.
If you want .ca, netfirms.ca is good.
Right, I use netfirms. I've used the domain people. Register.com? Yeah.
Internet.ca, there's
and if you ever hear of a company called Domain Registry of Canada, you just write F off right on the letter and you mail it back because they're going to scam you and they're going to try to rip you off.
Charge you 4 times.
So Dave Delaney's been kind of.
I just had sorry. I had a question also. Oh, well, I've been using HostMySite, which has been great. HostMySite.com. Not for .ca though. And they're fantastic. Like the customer service is really great, and they're good people. So, but my question was whether you guys have had any experience, or anybody in the room has had experience with cyber squatting, because the company I work for, Emma, which is an email marketing company in Nashville, our URL is myemma.com. We don't have emma.com, and so we have to deal on a daily basis with people saying, "I love my Emma, I love my Emma," and it's like it's not really the name of the company. The company's named Emma. But we deal with it because, people are saying nice things, so it's cool. But my question really is cyber squatting and what to do. I mean, I've tracked the IP address, and I've narrowed it down to who owns it. But the guy's like a crazy billionaire with owns all sorts of first names.
Yeah.
And getting a hold of him. I've checked through LinkedIn and tried to see if I can get in touch with him to just say, come on, throw us a bone. You're not even using it. So I'm just curious if
But it's for sale, right?
No, it's not for sale. He just has it set up with Emma.com.
We actually got an email once from somebody who registered all the province names and all sorts of different Podcast Ontario, Podcast. Sent an email to the Canadian Podcast Buffet address and said, "Hey, do you want to buy some of these domains off me?" It's have fun with those domains.
Oh, I was just wondering if it would be possible to put maybe on the wiki some of these suggestions of where to go and where not to go for domains and hosting.
Well, there's obviously legal implications of putting where not to go, right?
So maybe we stick with the positive of suggestions of where people have
all being recorded too.
Yeah. So
what was the one you said, Dave? For
host my site.
So so a lot of the stuff that's on this list that you've been adding.
Your domain host.
Where I host them?
No, the registrar.
You're buying a
Registrar.
Moniker.
MONIKER.
Yeah. Great.
Netfirms.ca is good for .ca or domains.com.
.com too.
Yes.
So what we'll do is all the stuff that we're listing here, we'll add to the Canadian Podcast Buffet wiki.
Great, thanks.
And we're gradually adding content there to how to do things with podcasting. And this weekend's being the catalyst for that.
You mentioned some sort of issues, in regards to the .ca domains. What were they?
Okay, well, .ca domain, for example, if I look at my one-in-one, this is the control panel where you can. Okay, so So these are some of the domains I have with this host. So this is where my files sit. I think it's in Pennsylvania somewhere. And I have, you know, the .coms, .infos, and I have CanadianPodcastBuffet.ca and I have CanadaPodcast.ca as well. But I cannot buy a domain, like I buy a lot of domains through these guys because they're cheap and it's one click and everything's already set up. But I can't buy the .ca domains. So you see here it says external domain. So I went to NetFirms or Domain People, I don't remember which one I went to. And I bought that and then pointed it over to my files over here. That way all my files are on the same host. So it's easy for me to do a backup of the 22 sites I have. I just drag and drop. So, but you can spread out your hosting. Like the disadvantage of the way I do it right now is when one has a problem, all my sites are down. Thankfully, it hasn't happened much. Or actually, what happened recently is the credit card I had for payment, I forgot to call them and change it because my expiration date had changed. And I was about to
you were on your cruise.
I was about to get on a cruise in the Caribbean, and my phone rang, "We're all down, man."
And by the way, that's community for you.
Yeah.
You know you hit the community when somebody from the community is contacting you to tell you that your domain is down. And then this whole big system goes into place to track their Bob, and in a couple of hours before the ship leaves port, the domain is back online.
Anyone back here?
Oh, hold on, man, right over here.
Oh, sorry.
So, I'm curious about support plans, what kind of support plans you have, and whether you've been hacked, and whether you had to rely on backups, and whether your host is providing backups for you, and how much that's costing.
Don't rely on your host. Will most likely not provide backups for free. Like there'll be like a baseline backup, but don't rely on that for anything. Backups are your own responsibility unless you pay them to do it. They'll upsell you that. I'm sure that most hosts will sell you the backup service, but you have to take care of it yourself. And as for being
There's a pretty good WordPress plugin that will actually automatically email you backups on
Yes.
yeah,
WordPress
but that'll only back up your content, right? It won't back up.
Yeah,
it won't
well,
back up your
but
templates and your.
But that changes way more often. I'd rather my content be backed up.
Yeah.
And
I actually, with my hosting here, I can get Unix level access if you're a code guy or whatever, and I can I have an automated script that takes a snapshot of all my files and then FTPs over to my house.
It's WP database backup.
It's built in, isn't it?
No, it's just a plugin.
External,
Yeah.
you can download.
I'm not sure what the heck. Yeah, it used to be actually. It used to only be you had to run it yourself, and then you have it, you'd save it. But now they actually have it. It runs some cron job in the background. I bet every week or something like that.
Yeah, I might actually daily, every day at 5 o'clock in the morning, I get my database back up to me. So, you have a question?
Yeah, I want to just rewind a couple of minutes. I'm on TypePad right now, and I'm considering moving to WordPress and looking forward to the sessions coming up. But on domain mapping, because I did register with GoDaddy, I have a bunch of domains. They are mapped over to TypePad. Okay. Can you just touch on any of the issues related to, you mentioned Google and search and blogging, that relate to the domain mapping onto a blogging service like WordPress or TypePad?
Well, Julian, can I attack you for a couple minutes? Because this is really where you know a lot about when you have a domain name and you're pointing it to something else, and the implications with Google on that. If you don't know, Julian Smith is Google Ninja Master.
Hey, who am I speaking
He
to?
does this for a living. And
Hey. Okay, so here's the answer to your question, the short answer. The long answer would take much longer. There are a lot of different ways to point one domain at another address. And so what you want to do is, it really depends on the results that you want to achieve. Number one, if you, let's say we have a website that we work on, startcooking.com, for example. And it's a cooking blog with a lot of posts and tons of videos and other stuff, all with different URLs. So let's say we want to take that and we want to point it at cooking.com because we just somehow won the lottery, so we want to buy cooking.com. So what we want to do, I want to turn down the volume.
Tips and techniques and startcooking.com.
Oh, we talked about that yesterday.
So let's say you want to do that. That's pointing a whole website at another website. And so what you need is a 301 redirect, which is called a permanent redirect. I'm sorry that this is technical, but there's no other way to do it. So it's called a 301 redirect, which is a permanent redirect. Google will look at that and say, oh, this is the old website and this is the new website. I will now begin to index this new website and give it all of the ranking of the old website. That's a permanent redirect. A 302 redirect which is a temporary redirect, means this page is currently down, and so for now, don't go here instead. And these are things that you set up on your server. Another way to do it is by HTTP redirect, which is basically to say on the page, hey, by the way, go here instead of here. This is kind of a technical issue. The point is that if you want to permanently move a page and not screw up your Google rankings or screw up your trust for your website, you want to do a 301 redirect. It is pretty much the only way to do it. That is not going to
The problem, like moving away from TypePad, like if you want to set your own hosted, they usually don't let you do the 301 redirect. So.
Yeah, that's right. If you don't control the server, then you have a big problem. So what you want to do is, so what you want to do, for example, if you have a situation where you have a TypePad blog, is ideally I would buy a domain name, I would point the domain name at your TypePad blog originally, wherever a long time ago, let's say a year ago, let the links go to the .com that you own, and then when I was ready to switch to my own hosting or something like that, I would take the domain name and I would then point it at my own host. So that would mean that all the old links would be going to the .com and not whatever your name is, .typepad.com.
You'll take a little bit of a hit on Google.
Yeah, you
You will certainly take a hit.
I did exactly that.
Yeah.
You'll
You will certainly
take a bit of a
It
hit.
takes a long time.
It'll catch up though eventually.
Yeah. The thing is, it's these search engines pretend that they know everything, but they really don't in some cases, and you kind of have to push them along as much as humanly possible. You just have to know the right way to do it.
But owning a .com that you host at WordPress or TypePad, it's not an issue.
That is the best decision.
I have that, and it's masked, so it shows up.
So you see the .com.
Yeah, it shows it in the address bar.
So you should be okay.
Should be all right.
Yeah, is you just have to make sure that you permanently redirect every old blog post URL and every new blog post URL. So you'd be like, hey, what is my name? My name is whatever. And you want to point that old blog post to the new blog post URL. And that's a 301 redirect. Each blog post goes to the new blog post, and that way you keep your link juice from every blog post that you've got a link to.
And that is a big job. Can you hire somebody to do that for you? Can you hire somebody to go in and do all those redirects for you?
Yeah.
Sorry? You're too busy. You can hire somebody, but Julian is too busy.
So I've got a .ca, .com, and .tv address, but my main website is going to be at .tv. So what is it that I'm doing then to have it redirected to my .tv for the .ca, .com address?
So you would create 301 redirects for your .ca, .com addresses to point to the .tv address. Is that correct, Julian?
If you own both the .net and the .com.
CA, COM, and TV. TV is going to be the main site, so you do 301s for the CA and the COM to the TV.
Yeah, we also need to make a decision, right? Like you decide whichever one it is that you want to have. And then all the other ones, if they don't have any links, then they're useless. You know, aside from people typing it in directly in the bar.
You don't do 301 at that point.
Link
.com never going to get it.
Are to keep link juice flowing properly. So you have
Hold on. This is where we usually get
Okay, if you're buying a ton of domains like you have Frenchmade TV and Frenchmade.tv.com or Frenchmade, all these different 10 different URLs pointing to one domain, then all of these other domains, basically the only value of that $6.95 or whatever, $10 that you spent to buy that domain is if people accidentally type the quote-unquote wrong URL instead of typing Frenchmade TV, they type in Frenchmade.tv, for example, into the address bar. There's a value of that because you're not losing that person that might have been like, hey, wait, this site is down, or something like that. The only purpose of a 301 or of any kind of redirect is to ensure, especially a 301, is to ensure that link juice flows properly. So if somebody has typed in Frenchmade.tv and they've written a blog post about you writing the wrong address, then there's somebody who has linked to you using that wrong address. Then that link has value. So then you want to redirect it using a 301. Otherwise, you could just redirect it in any way that you see fit because the search engines don't need to, search engines don't control domain names. You can just type in any URL, it doesn't matter. But as soon as there are links pointing at any domain name, that domain name should, if it's pointing at Frenchmade.tv or whatever, they should all be pointing in the same place because because then they have value and you shouldn't be wasting that value. That's it.
Oh, actually,
This
so
is
what-
probably totally unclear. I'm so sorry.
hold on to the mic for a second. How often does Google update its page ranks so that if you've been receiving a lot of link love, at what point, when can you expect to see that translation?
Links. Man, this is okay.
The question was,
Oh, sorry. The question was, how often does Google update its page ranks so that if you've been at this for a year and you've got 1 million links or whatever for authoritative resources, at what point does Google refresh your page ranking so that your 2 might become a 3 or the other way around, maybe your 7 becomes a 4?
Google is caching your pages pretty often, like every day or every week or something like that. The page rank that you see on the Google toolbar is not a real reflection of the value of the page. It's a little bit artificial, and it's not something that I would really trust. You know, if I look at my blog and my blog URL has a page 6 or page rank 6, that's something. It's okay. It's better than page rank 0, but I don't trust that for being able to rank for certain things. It doesn't matter to me. So the answer to the question is that links are indexed if they're on a page that is cached properly. Then after a couple of days, the link will be seen and it will be assessed for value. But the older a link is, the more value it has. So if somebody says, hey, I'm going to link to you, and they put the link there for a week, and then they take it off, it's like, eh. But if they leave that link there, and that link stays there for 5 years, that's something over a period of a long time that Google goes, well, this person over a period of 5 years has continued to link to this. Obviously, this link has a great deal of value, and therefore this site has a great deal of value. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Where can we see that rating?
You can't.
So the Google rating in the
page rank toolbar.
The page rank in the toolbar, which we don't actually have here.
Yeah.
That is artificial, but you cannot see. There's nowhere that you can go and actually see what your Google page rank.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, it's a software.
I have another question.
Yep. We're just going to run this over here for you.
So do I need to submit my website URL to Google and to Yahoo and all the different directories?
Is anyone talking about you? On the web?
I've done a search for myself. Not yet. No. I'm just creating my website, so I want to know if that's something that I need to do as part of setting up my website.
So what you want to do is, the only reason that you would want to tell Google about your site is if your site has literally no links to it. Because if nobody, think about it on a real world perspective. If we're all around here and nobody knows, what your name is, obviously I'm not going to hear about who you are. So basically what you need is you need the links pointed to you so that people, and therefore Google, sees the value of what you do. So you need to get your page indexed, and you do that either by getting links or by telling Google through the webmaster tools that you exist. I would recommend getting links, because then what you're doing is you're actively, in a way, promoting yourself. That is not, you coming to a conference and handing out business cards like an idiot, but instead you're going to Google, and so you're going to different sites and going, hey, your site is kind of like my site. I would love for you to link to this article I wrote about cats, or whatever. And it's a really authoritative article about cats, so you might try to link to it. I'm not talking about link exchanges, which are a bad idea. Like, I'll link to you if you link to me. Don't do that.
Why not?
Because that's considered to be artificially inflating the number of links that you have. It's people going, I'm going to link to you and you're going to link to me, and guess what? We're both going to go up in Google because of it. But it's considered to be artificial by Google.
Okay, but what about being a new website to try to develop traffic to my website?
I understand that. Some reciprocal linking comes naturally. Like, I'm going to link to Bob and he's going to link to me because we're friends, right? That's not a big deal. But when all of your links are excessive, which is another soft word that I can't really define, reciprocal linking occurs. The majority of your links are you linking to people and them linking back to you. It means basically that Google looks at that and goes, this page does not have the value of the links it really has. This probably needs to be pushed down. Somebody has 10,000 links, but all the links come from a page that you link to, and obviously that's not real value. It's somebody in a small community. It's not that important to the world at large.
Can't you also buy words?
Like buy keywords?
Buy links?
No, like, so that if somebody searches for some, cats, that you come up higher?
Or like buy Viagra, for example?
No, but I mean, can't you buy keywords or something?
I mean,
either way, not AdWords, but I guess the other program they had.
Are you talking about buying links?
Sponsored links.
Sponsored links, like, yeah.
Type in cats.
Cats.
Julian, what about blog rolls? Are those guys?
Blog rolls?
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. I mean, that's it. The main issue with when I'm talking about these kinds of problems, reciprocal linking and so forth, it's mostly from these sites that are like either commercial or sites with not a lot of links. If anytime that you're in a blogging community, like I link to you, you link to me, and it's on the sidebar in the blog roll, Google can see that that's a blog, and that's what happens on blogs. So it's not a big deal. And also, you and I, since we have blogs and we're on some people's blog rolls, that's actually a link from every single page on the site. It's a site-wide thing. So what happens is that basically you'll end up ranking for your name or the name of your blog, which is not a big deal. It's when Google is looking at things and it says, okay, so this person is trying to rank for buy Viagra, but obviously his site is not really about Viagra, or it's spammy, or it's all these kind of soft indicators of trust that are really undefinable, that you only really figure out by really experiencing what these sites look like over time and how people index them and so forth. But for you, if you're naturally doing what a blogger does, you don't have a problem. Anytime you're doing what the natural person in that field is, if you have a real estate blog or real estate site, and you're doing what real estate sites do, it's not a big deal. It's natural.
We have a question over there in the back.
So how does Google determine spam?
The question is, how does Google determine spam?
It looks at, it understands the English language and every other language probably a lot better than we do as human beings, right? Through having indexed a ton and understanding linguistics and how language works. So it looks at the way posts would be written on a blog and says, is there an excessive use of, the keywords real estate in here? Is it an unnatural percentage of the word real estate in this post versus the number of times real estate occurs on the rest of the internet? Because remember, it has a whole internet indexed, right? It goes, here 7% of the words in here are real estate, but on the rest of the internet it's only about 2%. Either this page is about real estate, or if it's significantly higher, it's like, it's 10%, real estate, and then the rest of it are all words related to real estate. It looks at it and goes, this is probably not the way a human writes. And it goes, this is therefore kind of a slightly spammy page. So when you're trying to rank for something, you have a combination of making sure that something looks natural, aka is written by you, and you could just ensure that by writing like a normal human being, which I'm pretty sure you know how to do, and linking in. So when people link to you, when people link to you, for example, go to your blog, I don't care. They use, obviously, anchor text, and that anchor text that people type in, like here it says about, appearances, contact, and current status. If this page that he's linking to right here has 10,000 links and they all say something along the lines of contact, appearances, or whatever, then Google's going to look at that and go, there are 10,000 people pointing at this page saying it's about contact and appearances. I should rank it for contact and appearances. This is a simplified version of what it does. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
But if it's too much, if it's not natural, aka if it doesn't look like it's within the boundaries of the way a person and a way a site normally is written or normally is made, then it can pretty easily look at that and go, it doesn't look natural to me. I'm going to give it a penalty of -5, or I'm going to give it a penalty of -50, or I'm going to give it a penalty of -999 because it's really spamming or something like that. The best thing you can do for yourself in order to make sure that you rank well in your niche is to get a bunch of links that either are natural or at least seem natural. I'm sorry that I feel like I'm monopolizing.
No, thanks, Joy. Like, search engine optimization is black magic. Julian is very much in that scene. That's what he does for a living. And there are people selling 9-day conferences on this stuff.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And writing books this thick
Yeah.
on how to trick Google into ranking your site higher. So, you know, there's some basic things you can do that have a lot of return, and then it becomes a career. So,
Apparently.
yeah.
Does that answer everybody's questions? Okay.
Well, we'll take 2 more because we have to move on to the next topic. So,
I gotta eat now.
well, the 12 is eating is at 12. We actually have another thing going from 11:30.
Does Google index blogs different than it does websites?
It doesn't. Google doesn't index website. It indexes pages. So every page is part of a domain, but it's looked at kind of on its own in a way. You know, even though relationships between pages exist, like obviously the home page is linked to from every site from every page on the domain, because usually at the top left there's a link to the just nothing else, no URL. So it understands the relationships between pages. I'm sorry, I totally lost track of your question.
Is that squeak you did?
Does it index website pages
Differently than
it
blogs.
does blogs?
It understands that if something is a blog, it certainly understands that it should be probably, I guess the answer to the question is that it definitely sees that blogs are a different form of website than the way websites used to be. But what it has done is, Google has an algorithm for the most part. It doesn't hand edit because the web is just too big to do that. So it can't hand edit for the most part. So what it does is it'll just look at it and go, it'll look at its algorithm and they'll say, well, since there are a ton of blogs, or the percentage of blogs on the internet for all the pages on the web is, let's say, 25% or something, then the algorithm needs to be changed in this way. So rather than looking at a blog and saying, that's a blog, therefore it needs to be indexed differently, they look at the algorithm and they go, based on the amount of blogs on the internet, how do I fix the algorithm to make sure it works? You see what I'm saying? It's an assessment method that changes. Thank you.
Thanks, Julian. And if you want to buy Julian's book,
I don't have
I wanted to just ask a quick question about that. Does anyone recommend to me a good site builder? Because I have had some very bad ones, and I like kind of design freedom, but I'm not savvy.
so a site builder, question is for Chelsea's asking about a site builder like a person or software?
Like online, I'm going to purchase this site builder for $8 a month, or I don't know. Does anyone
You
know
mean like
what
the site design?
Yeah, site design, yeah.
So,
TypePad is pretty good.
TypePad is good. There's also WordPress, which is a blogging engine, which does all the content handling, and then you can just put themes, and that changed the look and feel. And we're going to look at a bit of that in the next part.
But it depends on what you're trying to accomplish with your site and what components are key. So
Yeah.
that if it's more blog oriented, that might be a good venue, but you might use it with
video content.
I'm sorry.
If those who use it with video content.
Is it going to be a static page, or are you going to be regularly adding new stuff and letting people search through archives and back at? So it's really like a blog kind of engine that you're looking at.
I'm just thinking more of a site actually.
Because a site, really a site would be like a static page, and then you go to different parts. Like, do you want people to be able to subscribe to your content, or do you want people to be able to? So if it's more of a static page, then maybe not a blogging engine.
Well, if actually I'm looking at that right now. I'm redesigning Rock and Roll Report to be less of a blog and more of essentially a magazine. And using WordPress, but using something like the Revolution theme, which changes the format and makes it more magazine-like and more music magazine-like, is kind of the way I'm looking at right now. So WordPress, you can still use that, not WordPress.com, but if you have your own work. But WordPress is flexible enough that it can be a content management system.
Yeah, and that's the key right there. Is the blogging engine or the content management is really the strength. The presentation you can. There's all kinds of different ways to present the information. But the nice thing is, a static page, you have to go and edit the HTML code for it to be different. Whereas a blogging engine, you don't have to worry so much about the presentation. You just worry about the content, and that engine will present it in the way you've decided for it to look. So it's a nice. It's why everybody. It's why the number of websites. It used to be. People would have a website with 3 pictures of their dog, and then an email address at the bottom, because that would take 2 hours to do. and then it would never get updated. But whereas the blog, you can just worry about the content, and the presentation takes care of itself. So that's. Are we ready for lunch? Is that what we're doing?
Well, he's money, so
he's money.
But he's got.
If you need money, go see Rob Lee. He has money.
I outed you, Rob. Sorry.
Okay, we're gonna look at WordPress. Is that what we're doing next? Mark is checking his email. Any other questions? Did I answer your question, Chelsea? I mean.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. Okay. We're looking at where is it? Okay, so we've talked about owning your online presence. I'm sure it was great. It wasn't here. GoDaddy, your name, your own WordPress site. 30 minutes each with break. So we'll do the first part of that. Yeah. WordPress site with Libsyn backend. We looked at Libsyn yesterday, right? We looked at it for hosting our media files and also to use that blogging engine as a way to present our pages. The advantage of Libsyn, just to recap, is that you don't pay for bandwidth. You pay for the space you're going to use. And the nuance with that is podcasting is a thing where if you use a typical hosting site, you will get a certain amount of transfer bandwidth included in your package. Media files are big, so you will eat a lot of that up. And so if your show is very popular, or your content is very compelling, and word spreads, and more people download it, you're eating up your base amount, and they ding you for the extra amount. There's always something after, right? You get 2 gig of transfer, but the 3rd gig, start coughing it up. And then if you're really, really, really popular, or if some server in Japan has a bug and it downloads your podcast 8 billion times, you're paying for that. So with Libsyn, you don't worry about that. You just worry about the space you're going to use, like the $5 package or whatever the package you're going to. So even if somebody downloads it 1 million times, your costs are fixed. The disadvantage of Libsyn is the front end. The presentation is limited. You're limited to their engine, and because they try to make it very simple, it'll get the job done. But once you want to create your brand, once you want to own your domain, once you want to change it from a blog-looking thing to a magazine-looking thing, you can't do that with Libsyn. So the best of both worlds is use Libsyn for hosting your media files, and you have your own domain and your own WordPress site. Look at WordPress. It could be there's all kinds of blogging engines. There's Drupal, there's Joomla, there's WordPress is pretty much the #1 blogging platform right now, just because it's free. It's meant to be free. It's open source. The community develops and works at it, and there's a great community around it. So if you ever have a problem, you can just Google a question, and somebody's already answered that question. So it's just great. The support is great. They come out with new releases every 5 or 6 weeks. They come out with an update. Yeah, I'm a couple dozen versions behind on some of them, but so that's really so we'll look at WordPress. Now there's two parts to WordPress. There's WordPress.com and WordPress.org. .org is where the software actually lives. So if you want to go get it, you go to WordPress.org. Apparently I've been there recently. And that's WordPress. So this is where you can download the software and you install it on your server and yada yada. Now, you need to have some skills to do this, to a certain extent, because what's behind it, all that information is kept in a database. So all your blog posts, all your yeah.
There are a lot of hosts that will automatically one-click do that for you.
Yeah, there's some hosts. Yeah, Bill's point is that there's a lot of hosts that will actually do the install for you, and
one-click.
And you still have full control over updates and things like that. I don't know. Right? Yeah.
And some of them do. Some of them will offer that. They'll say they'll automatically update it if and when the WordPress has been updated.
Okay.
You just want to be careful that they don't update it. You find out there's bugs galore.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll usually be a little bit behind.
Yeah.
They'll wait a week or two.
Right. So they may actually do the updates and everything for you. I'm a control freak and a geek, so I do it all myself. So you need a database. And that your hosting package will include a database, and then you install it. And I'm not going to go through the install here because it could take forever. But if you want to see what it looks like, you can also go to WordPress.com. and it's the same software, but they're hosting the blog for you. Now, there's just a way if you want to just set up a blog. It's quick and dirty. The problem is that your blog will become, if your name is Fred, fred.wordpress.com. So we're looking a bit at branding and search engine optimization. You don't want your domain to be fred.wordpress.com, because if WordPress goes bankrupt, you lost your identity online. So you might want to have your own domain and point it to that.
You can actually have it mapped for you. WordPress allows that. Charge a couple bucks a month.
Okay, they'll charge you, but you don't want to publicize the link as fred.wordpress.com, even though it'll still exist, right? Like you'll see a blogger does free sites as well. So you see sites, fred.blogspot.com. That's the blogger engine. Same kind of deal as WordPress. So I'll just go over to one of our WordPress sites. So this is that's this thing here. This is the buffet. So it's a blog, right? You have your content coming down the middle, and you have your sidebars and your links and your subpages and all that stuff. So how does that work behind it? Let's have a look. So that's what your visitors see, and then this is what you see, right? This is where you control what your people are going to see. So from your dashboard, you see, it gives you some nice little information there. Like Chris, you're taking off?
Yeah, I gotta go.
Hey.
Good luck with WordPress.
Hi.
You have like a new student right there with the green on there. She just asked me all these questions about WordPress down the hall. So
There we go.
thanks for everything.
See you, Chris. Everybody say bye, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
For those of you who may not know, Chris actually is one of the founders of Podcamp, by the way.
That plus $2 gets you Tim Hortons. Upstairs. I'll be collecting the money.
Safe travels.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Back to Boston with you. So, so this is what you see when you go and maintain your site. So there's all kinds of, you see who's linking to you, you see your recent comments, your recent posts, and probably somewhere a link saying, would you please install the update?
I think I heard talking to
You're old enough that it doesn't tell you.
Yeah, I don't have the update that tells me to install the update. So, so this is the engine behind the scenes. So if you want to write a blog post, click on write, and it comes up.
Why don't you just put this in?
Oh, I could do that. Your post title, you write your post,
What I learned at Podcamp?
and you publish. Yeah, I don't want to do it on this side. You know what I'll do?
Show a post that we've already done.
I'll do it on mine, because I don't want to, the buffet, because it's a show, I don't want people downloading it. So I'll just go here. Same idea. Oh, see this one? Mine is a different version of WordPress. It says, would you please install the update? And I don't. All right.
Quick question. Where is this being hosted?
Where's this being hosted?
Mine? It's all over here. For me, it's all on one of blogwash.com is right here.
Oh, okay, so that's on the hosting.
That's on my hosting package. Yeah. And
The part about it is you don't have to log into your hosting package to be able to write a post or doing it.
Yeah,
Once
so
it's
it's-
there installed, you're done. You don't have to go back to the hosting part.
that's right.
I forget my password that way.
Yeah, I spend a lot of my time actually on my hosting for things I'm doing. So, you have some questions? Yeah.
Do the visuals and content... Hello. Do the visuals and content look the same on a Mac as they do on a PC? Or?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, because this is all web-based. So the only way it would look different is, like right now I'm using Firefox. If I was using Safari on a Mac, or if I was using, does anybody still use Internet Explorer? It might look different just because of the way those browsers react to web pages normally. But the look and feel will be the same. It's all web-based. So, this is my day at Podcamp. And it's an editor. It's the next editor, Jennifer.
So if I put a blog as part of my website, do I use WordPress for that?
You can. I recommend it. It's a great blog engine, and there's a lot of reasons that there's other blog engines, but really WordPress is the most widely adopted. So I'm just going to do a quick post here for my first one.
Did you have podcast on them?
Online? No.
Yeah. I was going to say you could.
I don't think I do.
Yeah,
I do actually.
So you can add the file that we recorded yesterday.
Oh yeah, so if I don't have a, let's see.
No, but you didn't hook in the mic.
You know what? Let's not get caught up with that. Let's just stick to the blog for a second. So I've written my post. I come here and I publish, and then all of a sudden it's done. So now if I go to my site, there we go. So now anybody who is either visiting my site or subscribed to my feed now has an update. Hey, Bob wrote something.
There was another option to write a tweet. What is that?
Tweet? Oh, Twitter. That's a Twitter integration. Yeah, Twitter, you could go on Twitter for a long time.
Switch over and we'll have your blog post too.
Oh yeah. Twitter is, it's called a microblogging platform. It's for SMS. It started as a SMS for phones, like messaging for phones, so you're limited to 140 characters each time. But now it's really become more than that. So see automatically on Twitter, new blog post, My Dad Podcamp. So people who know me and who like my style of writing now know. And if you go to my Facebook, you also should say it there. See, new blog post, My Dad Podcamp, right here. So everything is plugged in, so now anybody who enjoys, for some reason, what I write is super happy to go to my site and see that one sentence that says, hello from Podcamp Toronto. Bob, you're such a tool.
You automatically update your MySpace page as well with that?
No, I don't have the integration of MySpace because MySpace is it's not really part of my online brand, you know?
But there is some kind of plugin or something?
Yeah, you can have the integration with MySpace. There's plugins that you can do that'll do that.
What's the name of the plugin that you use to do all that?
So for the Twitter, oh god, I don't remember how it is. Twitter Tools is one for go to plugins. Now WordPress, the nice thing about it is the basic code is maintained by a trusted bunch of people. And then if you just say, hey, you know what, WordPress would be really neat if it did this, and you know some code, you can write what's called a plugin, and it just slaps into the software, and you can add. I've got the Podpress is a great podcasting plugin. It adds podcasting functionality to WordPress. What is it? Sociable. Spam Karma is for removing or dealing with spam. Sociable. What Sociable does is it adds these little icons over here. So if somebody wants to, there's all these sites, Stumble Upon and Reddit, Newsline, and all these things. So if somebody wants to add a delicious tag. Well, I won't go into tagging just yet. Well, that plugin, if I was logged into the plugin, that plugin just adds that functionality. WordPress by itself doesn't do that, but you can add all these plugins to do all these different things. I kind of went off track there.
How did you get to the plugins? How did you get to the plugins? I missed it.
How to get from the dashboard? Just click on plugins.
The nice thing about Twitter, the nice thing about of WordPress is everything that you need generally is accessible through the main toolbar at the top and then your sub toolbar. So if you go to plugins, for example, you can get a list of plugins, you can edit your plugins, and then here's your Akismet configuration. That's for using the spam control. Then again, if you go to write, it'll take you to a page that allows you to write posts, pages, and in this case, write tweets. So everything is all managed to the top bar.
And what's the Podpress?
And Podpress is that's the plugin. That's actually it's a plugin that lets you add nice media functionality to WordPress. WordPress will do podcasting by itself to a certain extent. The advantage of a thing like Podpress is it'll also do things like this. It'll add a player. So people don't have to worry about how to download podcasts. This week's special. So Podpress does that. Gives you that little player. There's all kinds of things. Can you say in a pop-up? Here, somebody wants to listen to podcasting. The big deal about podcasting is the subscription mechanism. And everybody really got caught up in that. And it's wonderful because it's automated. 95% of the people will listen just by clicking play on your website. So Podpress gives you that functionality nicely, and you don't have to worry about coding or any of that stuff.
They're more likely to do it if they don't know anything about you. So that's really easy. They don't have to go through, they don't have to subscribe, because then if they don't like you, they don't have to unsubscribe later.
That's right.
So it's useful.
The other thing that Podpress provides is the ability to manage the iTunes component of your subscription as well.
So I'll let you run this.
Okay.
I'll just show you the example. Remember, yesterday Mark showed you on the Libsyn all the iTunes settings for your podcast. If you look at the settings for Podpress, you get pretty much the same things. And you get statistics as well, which is kind of cool, when I update it. So these are all the settings for iTunes, which category, feed ID, all these things. Where iTunes can find the rest of your feed, the picture when it's big, the picture when it's small. See, we're podcasting here. Anyways. You want to block in iTunes, the explicit, all these tags, all these settings that you would have to manually deal with. And WordPress doesn't know how to set anything up for iTunes. Podpress has all that functionality. And it's pretty much become the standard thing if you want to do podcasting with WordPress. Or video casting as well. It's any media integration into WordPress. Yeah.
Can you put directories and a shopping cart on WordPress?
Shopping directories, like, what do you mean?
Like I just made a book, an environmental resource and coupon book. So my friend is going to be making me a website through this.
Right.
But I want to have a directory of all locally owned green businesses and a way people can buy my book. Can that be applied to WordPress?
Yeah, you can do something. You can do a blog roll. For example, I have a blog roll which just people I read regularly. And you can have instead of I call it reads, but you can have where you can find my book. And then if you want to do a shopping cart, I don't know, let's find out. WordPress. Shopping cart plugin. Okay. There we go.
There's almost a plugin for everything in WordPress.
Yeah.
If you're not sure you want to put videos on your site, just Google WordPress plugin plus videos, and you're going to find tons of plugins. And there's always a community built around those plugins. And people, if they've had issues, that's where it comes up. It's literally you can configure it to do almost anything.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of WordPress. And you can add functionality or take it out. Like let's say you put a shopping cart in, and you say, you know what, I really don't want to handle this. You can take it out just by clicking deactivate, and you didn't have to recode your whole website or submit it to somebody to do it. So
watch the dates on some of your plugins. Like that one's April 3rd, and there's been a number of iterations of WordPress that have come out since that was released. So you might want to make sure it works.
Yeah, and there's also paid plugins as well. Like something like a shopping cart, perhaps you want paid support for that if it's big enough or a deal for you. If you don't mind telling your readers, let's say there's a problem. Say, hey, come back. My shopping cart's down now, but it'll be up soon. That could be okay. But if you're selling 10,000 things a day, you need your shopping cart back on. If you're doing 10,000 items a day, you might want to pay extra and have some support and get a package where you'll have somebody like instantly available. Yes.
Is Spam Karma plugin? Is that you pay for that?
No. So that's free as well.
And when you open up comments, you need a spam plugin.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can't. It'll take seriously a day, and it'll be full of time.
The stock WordPress comes with
yeah.
If I could recommend, if I could recommend an alternative to Akismet that I use that's sweet, if you want, it's defensio.com. Defensio.
What is that?
SIO. It's just an alternative to Akismet. Akismet is like the difference between this one is that it'll actually take a look at the percentage chance that something might be spam, and if something is like 10% spamminess, according to its algorithm, it'll put it at the top so you can actually see it. Akismet just shows you all the spam ones without showing you which ones are more spammy or less spammy. So this one, you can actually, if you get a real comment that was accidentally put into spam, you can actually find out where it is. As opposed to a Kismet that just kind of shows them one after the other without time.
If we look at a Kismet, so if you look at, see Kismet, I installed this blog I think about maybe a year ago, and it's 3,500 spams it's taken care of without getting involved.
And that's low generally. That's low. Like I
know, I have no visitors to my site. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, you got more traffic than I do. Way more than
You should have.
So here, see, look at these blog posts. This is all spam.
What? How did I manage that?
Did you go under the table?
Apparently.
I don't think it is under the table. No.
Like on the other end?
Pull it out. Keep going. No. There you go.
Aha, I see. All right, thank you.
My question back?
I noticed you had a FeedBurner plugin installed. I was just wondering if you can talk about FeedBurner and how that fits into all this.
That's a good question. FeedBurner is well, let's go to the site. FeedBurner got bought by Google, so now we know it's going to be around for a while.
Well, I can talk a bit about FeedBurner. When I first began, I had an RSS feed that was associated with my WordPress site and ended up moving the site. And although I put up a podcast that said, here's where I'm going, here's where I'm going to move to, follow me, I posted it on my site, there were a lot of people who found me later and said, oh, we thought you had vanished. So now I use FeedBurner. You just point FeedBurner towards your RSS feed so that your RSS feed never changes. You can move your site 1,000 times, you can move your RSS feed 1,000 times, and what people have is your FeedBurner. So I would recommend it.
So you also, I use it on and off because the idea is that you have your feed and everything points to that, and it's great because you can just keep your FeedBurner address and point it to anything. I didn't do that early on, so I have some people coming in through FeedBurner, some people coming in through the other links, and that plugin was an attempt to try to consolidate everything into. But you can't go out into the interwebs and change what people have clicked on, so I keep them all active. And the nice thing about FeedBurner is you get some statistics. WordPress will tell you nothing pretty much about your RSS feed. FeedBurner will tell you how many people are hitting it, how many people are subscribed to it.
It also gives you an email subscription capability.
Yeah, like for example, this is the updates that for the Canadian Podcast Directory. People subscribe by email, people subscribe by clicking on the RSS or whatever, and it's nice. It does an automated thing. So somebody who subscribed to an email will get a nice. I don't think I still have. They'll get a nice. They get a nice email saying, "Here are the latest updates to this site." So there's a lot of nice things about FeedBurner. So this gives you your stats. You can. It'll automatically do smart casting and fix sometimes. Some readers are more picky than others. It'll fix the feed to be useful. Because by default, if you click on an XML feed, it's not as much a problem now anymore, but you just get this page of code. And FeedBurner would stop that from happening. It would present in a way that it would look at least better on a web page, and somebody who clicked on it would know what it was. So that was one of the advantages as well.
What does it mean to offer the email subscription option?
Well, what happens is, if somebody subscribes to your blog, right, they can use a reader. I use Google Reader. And these are feeds, podcasts or blogs or sites that have RSS feeds that I get updates on. And there it goes. So these are all RSS feeds, right? So actually my post from there, somebody who subscribed to my feed, there's blogbench.com. Oh, see, that's my old message. There's probably a new one. When it refreshes, it'll actually say that. So see, if you're subscribed to my blog feed, you can go read my content. You didn't have to go to my site. 90% of the people who read blogs don't go to the blog site. They'll read it through RSS.
But actually, the email subscription will actually mail you.
Yeah.
The email subscription will actually mail you a daily digest of updates. So if there's been 3 posts in the last 24 hours, you'll get those latest 3 posts in email.
That's right. So if some people don't do it this way. Some people don't like. Some people go to the website every day to see if there's something new. That's the mechanism we're used to. Some people will do it this way with the reader, and then there's another option that FeedBurner will give you is the email. And let me see if I can find an example. Oh, actually, no, it'll be the buffet. Just going to switch email accounts here. Did all the bandwidth just go away? Well, all right, I went to.
Is it time to break for lunch?
Probably. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it was,
so here's the email that they get from Canada Podcast when there's new shows. So people get this nice email. I didn't write this email. It just took the feed and formatted it in this nice way and put my logo in it and sends it out as an email as opposed to having to use RSS.
Can you customize that in FeedBurner?
Yeah, that's a FeedBurner function. So if I go to FeedBurner, and I'm here. Haven't done this in a long time. So there's my feed. And a podcast. And then somewhere in here in feed detail.
Publicize.
Publicize? Email subscriptions. And there you go. So English, whatever.
And then it actually gives you code, so you can put it on your
Preview
website.
link.
And so you can actually, people can type in their email address on your website, hit enter, and it'll subscribe them
Right,
to
so if you
your
go,
updates.
go to CanadaPodcast.ca, which is not really a blog, but it still has an RSS feed. Well, the left side is kind of like a blog. So I give people the option. You can subscribe by RSS, or you can click on email. Pop, 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 pop. I don't have to manage that. I don't even have to know their email address.
They do have one even one step better. They do have one that will actually just pull it in the box line.
Yeah, if you go to marklevis.com, not to self-promote, but they know it's there.
Just a lot of people do that. It's getting it.
And on the right side, you can see subscribe by email. All you have to do is type in your email address and hit submit email. Boom.
Yeah, that's cool. Too. Yeah.
Is that used often?
Is that used often? I'm notoriously bad for not tracking stats on anything. You know what? If it's used by 10 people, it's worth it, right? Because once it's done, I mean, seriously, that box takes what, 2 minutes to put in once you have a feed. So if it helps 10 people, it means 10 people. You know, if you're trying to get out there, right, which is what this is all about, 10 people know about you, and then they tell 2 friends and 2 friends, and it's worth doing. Because once it's done, you don't have to worry about it. So, yeah.
Can you tell me what an RSS is?
After lunch, I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're watching the web stream. You can watch the later.
That's fine.
What's all did anybody lose a glove?
Yeah.
Absolutely. You'll read? Well, that's so now I'm okay. That's fine. Then the other side is going to use the people that include like Mega and
How was the Twitter thing?
Yeah, like this guy. That's
What's that page? Oh, no, you're right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be set up like with
Okay.
resolution is just like that.
How's it going? Oh, good. You made it pretty good.
I came in and just do some type of WordPress. Current feature.
Video of the
I do this all day.
Is that what you do?
Yeah. Because remember how Andy was talking about a boss for blog? I'm supposed to like push all like her posts on there. I like update it daily, like all over. But I'm thinking like we should do some like she's not like
essentially it's a WordPress site.
no, so that would be a big thing.
It's just a graphic.
Well, most of the, I mean, she's on our, she has RSS in the WordPress blog. Then it's just a matter of publicizing the feed on the blog.
No, that's what's great about
Getting them
it.
her
Once
feed
it's set
system.
up, I have somebody that's helped me with
So Google readers, it's people.
but it's a site. Once you go in, format it.
But if you have any questions, let me start.
The difference is it's where you send that information.
Hey, you have a meeting lunch?
Okay.
I don't like it right now, and I want to deeper and have something new in my push.
WordPress is very.
Thank you.
You don't want to spend
Yeah,
I'm starting to just because I want to learn it. It's so efficient.
There are some assets.
Once you get set up, you set up somebody but you don't want to have to
Yeah, 2 seconds. Do you know what kind of fun? I'm looking for the future long.
So, but it will be, I want to definitely look yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I got all the thing. I did the session.
So yeah, so I thought it sounded like so you're playing with it gives you
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but you want to
you know what, I like it the way, I like my chart best with the square, round. Yeah, no, I don't know. Square, round, I like that best, the round. I've seen round cards before, where they're boring. Is your printer different, Jared? Is that a really cool
If you're wondering, it's weird. Thanks, Bob. All right.
My company is the
Andrew's my boss. He was there as well.
He was the one that was everybody started to sit down and think about. Oh yeah,
I'm a DJ.
everybody's money
My biggest section is actually house movements. So there's yoga, shiatsu, reiki, homeopathic doctors, pet care, taking your pet for runs and stuff. Yeah, and acupuncture and stuff. So how do you see our website?
Well, I will have our session.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, for sure. What is it?
Okay.
Oh, it's a video I made last night. It's of something I want.
Yeah, I would love for you to, I mean, and I'm happy to, but, I want to help people and promote, other people's websites as well.
Yeah, no, that's.
So I can definitely, put a link
Yeah, this is,
on
I
their
don't
website.
really understand this.
My
Yeah,
upside.
so it's for $8, which is different from whose site.
Okay, well, great.
$10 everywhere.
Where can I get one of these?
We're like,
I love this thing.
I just got that from Scratch My Game blog. I do kind of club time Tupperware,
because essentially, well,
but I mentioned it might just happen anyways.
That's so nice. I love it.
I'm just gonna close my applications.
No, these are all my cards that I have with me, please. Okay, so I have your card. I should give you one, John. Thank you, I appreciate it. Let's do something like this by ourselves. Try to figure it out on our own. Yeah, this is called.
I'm hoping to get things, my website up in March, so I'm March.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you so much. So have you been here all day?
Yes.
So basically, is he teaching you how to do WordPress?
No, the WordPress is just the one component we're still right now. So we talked about all sorts of things to do with the podcast.
And podcasting means you're putting video or audio on your website.
Yes, but not just that, you have to be able to subscribe to it, because that's the difference. It makes a podcast. It's something that's to be regularly published.
Okay.
So if you went through everything from microphones and how to register your URL, to create your page online.
And is all this technology free?
A lot of it is. Yesterday we created a podcast. We had to go to my microphone, so we found hot-safe music that don't have to worry about the rights to it, and people may be sued for using it. So we found that online. We took a bit of a song for our little intro. I was the host of the show, so I did a little welcome to the show. Mark and the session person.
sound effects. We did laughter, we did woo, wah. Put all these things. I'm using a shareware software called Audacity. And so we showed us some music, we created it. It's on the website now.
And it's easy.
It was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. It's an interesting way to get your message out there.
And people can see it not just by going to your website, it could be mailed to them via a newsletter or something like that.
It could be, or you put it on iTunes. You submit your feeds to different directories, and people will find those directories. Or you can listen to it on the website. Subscribe to it every time you come on the website.
There was a green speak upstairs before about podcasting for sort of the green industry. So it was good. Green casting.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a techie person, but I'm gonna have to be, so I guess it's important for me to stick around. I do. I do.
Just try not to be nice.
Well, it's nice to meet you. My name's Allison.
oh yeah, there's a medication. I was like, what? Where have we come to? No, I mean, seriously, go to the meditation center. That sounds like an amazing idea. I would love to go with you. What is it? Is it a Zen center? Oh, Shambhala, so that's it's Tibetan. Yeah. That sounds great, Madeline. I'm so happy for you that you're looking. It's a great idea. Okay, Kelly, very much. Good. I'm really happy with this. You're doing the work. You're going to find it around and be very happy. I love you. Bye.
turn on some of those lights?
Yeah, did you find anything? You don't have to have matches or light. We just light a birthday cake. And none of the kids at the party smoke, so. Yeah. You fine?
Well, the reason why we look at that is because one of the examples that you pointed out here is Community Reports Network Ashwood. They so it's kind of got like a mini network going. It's got the roster of shows, but actually, I can show you this. Like, if you're looking at their site, yes, it has something that's moving on to the network also. It's got the report. Yeah. There's actually a lot of these shows. This one's like podcast.
So it's a matter of,
Well, there's the site and just like the way they manage having things.
Do you think she's funny? Because my friend does what I do in school. And she is.
I was pretty impressed with press.
She does like 5 minutes material over an hour. But people laugh.
That's got to be considered what we're going to do now. I didn't realize it was that simple. So, yeah.
So much faster than that.
Yeah. Yeah, we took the handles off the shows. We're not really looking at what shows.
Yeah.
So we need to subscribe to different services. But that's the functionality of the press. These sort of
Oh, I just wrote it for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's like, what's not?
tell you what.
Yeah, just one thing is, like if you don't remember, but like some, and also it's not just the second time, so it's also instead of poking me on that, so it's distracting.
So who's been talking? Mark got a voicemail message that the microphones are on, and whatever's been said in this room for the last hour has been streamed. So anything's really.
So we're anybody want to sell the tapes to us? Everybody's kind of like nervous laugh.
I got a couple of time.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's a good question.
I've already got a site.
You have a site, like you have a hosting regarding vehicles? Yeah. Well, it depends. if it's a hosted site, like if it's a site where you have access to command lines, so you can play with the servers over there. There's databases installed and waiting for you to do some work. Yes. But if it's like just like your cable company, and you know, like Rogers gives you free for video where you live, they can do. Here's you can put a web page on it, well, you can't do anything with that. You really need a full database for it.
So you didn't have to send it the email yet, because I don't know if I'm going to
on the WordPress,
are you upset with me?
There's some bits that can't help with the technical.
Because you know it's a little bit
But
you know, I had some on back pain or something.
They actually split it out or whatever, but it shows you
That was
what
fun
you
last
need.
night. Thanks for organizing.
And it tells you the questions to ask.
I was really disappointed in you. You guys just couldn't, well, not saying that you guys shouldn't have taken off, but I didn't realize some of you guys should have hit the subway station. Sage! Bye!
I was so late. I was way past my bedtime.
Oh my god, I was waiting yesterday. By the time,
How late were you that?
well, we weren't late on Friday. Friday we actually, like, we were quiet. We got here, we went to dinner by ourselves because nobody returned their phone calls.
Oh,
No, I got phone calls on Thursday, phone calls on Friday. Nobody called us back. I wonder who I phoned.
Yeah, the North Project.
Yeah, I left you a voicemail message on Thursday and Friday from the train on Friday. Hey, nobody's gotten back to us. We want to know if you guys want to hook up with us for dinner.
I'm not pleased with the fact that we're split off from the.
Well, I thought that'd be faster. Phone. Hello. Real-time interaction. Imagine that.
Somebody just gives them that, they walk there, and the goal wasn't to split up. The goal was to, if somebody walked in, we looked at this is.
We cancel our take my podcast. Don't send me emails with bad news anymore.
And there's no clear. So that's how we said, okay, well, how can we help people start from zero and end up podcasting? So that's again, and then the first route is going to finish this person. Yeah, so well, somebody who doesn't know that has to hop here. Okay.
Oh, wasn't Bill on the same room? It's probably
great. So evolved that way, and I think.
Are you hearing my voice stream on the internet right now?
Essentially,
you're hearing me. You're hearing Sage. You're hearing Steve. Oh, that's actually it's very interesting.
Yeah.
No, my
that's it, and you walk away from this with a better.
But I got your voicemail message, and I want you to know that it's.
You go read emails. Does that make sense? Yes. I've never seen that. One laptop per child. He killed an orphan after he stole his laptop. It was expensive.
Really? So you have Bill Deese's account number, okay? And you know about Bob's. Oh, okay. I won't share that information with anybody.
Listen, I put a cream on it. It was fine. They did a program.
She said she turned it off. It wasn't even interesting. That stuff about your
November, and they extended it to the end of December.
Yes, please.
It was $400. They call it a buy-one get program. If you did buy one for 2 years.
Yes.
They sent me one, and sent one to overseas. They did 80. The problem is, we have this big microphone.
So he's okay?
If you haven't had a computer for 5 or 10 years,
Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
It's smaller than I pictured.
How long ago was that?
It's weird to think about.
Oh, yes,
It's memory, because it's all waterproof. $400. They're around to, I think it was, they said their cost to make them.
Oh my God. Okay, I want to read a case study about that. Does anybody else know about this? Okay.
Oh, it's got a campfire.
Let's see. When people shoot at me when I have my flak jacket on, yeah, there's nothing right now.
It's actually called sugar.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to write it up on the board so everybody could see. But if you could write it down for me, that'd be great. Can you please write down? You said news what? What were the true? Okay, so you know Brian Conley, the guy who I interviewed about his podcast about Baghdad. So he raised enough money, he bought flak jackets for folks that film stuff out in Iraq. His correspondent, and so there was a bombing in Iraq just a short time ago. His guy lived, flak jacket on, the guy next to him was killed. So, because of this. Well, very nearby with him, he was dead.
And then you get like hours.
Well, what does a black jacket do?
If you look at your body.
Yeah.
Because he didn't hit the head, he must have hit the body with the flak jacket protecting him.
Wow, it's got the air keys too.
It's a grenade, pack grenade. Wow. Well, what a good news story. I mean, good news for Brian. Yeah.
What people have been saying now is,
well, we're sorry you're not here, but you're coming to So, and I got your email when we were on the train the other day, on Friday. So they sent an email about home, and I just haven't had a chance to respond to her. Because Andrew's been here with me. It's been an awesome weekend. But I will respond to you tonight or tomorrow.
So there's no removal storage cars?
Oh, yeah, we're totally okay. Yeah, it's good.
USB drives.
But there's also...
Oh, of course. I've been waiting for this time.
And it's in a really odd location, because the meeting for you to put an SD card is needed. It's not nice. But you can put an SD card in and copy files off of it.
And how much storage does it have?
Sorry, you repeat the last one? Oh, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, and big files. One thing I don't like is the port application only for the 45
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It'd be fun to work with him and you want it. So I'll speak to you either tonight or tomorrow. Okay. Talk to you later. Thanks. You're really cute, Linda. Thanks for calling. She didn't raise a good point. You're just supposed to say your phone number out loud just as she called. It was like, oh yeah, the screen is on. Like that.
It's just seems. I haven't done it yet because nobody else is money that I don't have. It's a weird interface. That's it. That's your applications. This is
We are now in the circle.
That's part of it. If you
It's because we have two cell phones, and they're both almost always off, and like one of them is like
do not pick up.
If we would have left it,
can make friends with people.
Yeah, it was on video what she was saying to other people.
I was texting Linda furiously.
so you can do pandas like
I didn't say I wasn't going to, but I said I haven't had a chance to look at it. Did you see something? Yes, yes.
See, we just like from yeah, I was saying
I thought this was it, and everybody's having this.
It's got a writer on. So you're getting
Really be catching as much as sure. I really wish sometimes they would actually just list what quality is going back to the it doesn't show you this is it. Like
Well, we got onto the wrong train. Everything was nice.
So when I call up and when somebody else was met, we didn't expect them to. These come have your feet massaged, have grapes delivered to
No, these are all wireless networks.
other people would show up as a little train.
Just a turbo is right then.
Silver.
Like this was ultra modern, like a bullet shape of the design. Made more than 3 months on the line. Lasted 1 year. It's always this amazing thing. Well, not when it crashed. It was just irritated. There's this amazing. Oh, everything.
Hey, can I get everyone's attention for like 30 seconds?
No.
Thank you.
The green acid is the
FreshBooks, Yahoo, and the Podcamp Toronto team are sending 4 people to see this afternoon's Toronto Marlies game. They are playing Montreal's farm team, the Hamilton Bulldogs. They are first in the AHL right now, and there's good money that they're coming home with the cup this year. So, what we'd like to do is we'd like to have everybody in the room scream, "Go Marlies," on the count of 3. We're going to pick the most fanatical person and send them to this afternoon's hockey. So, everybody ready? 1, 2, 3. The person standing up just took this, and they're the only one in the entire building who stood up to cheer. You free this afternoon?
Other than this?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Excellent. If you can meet us at the registration desk at 3 o'clock, we'll get you to the hockey.
I'm actually going to be slipping out in a few minutes, heading back to Ottawa. I just wanted to thank everybody. This has been a lot of fun to be a part of, and I'm sorry I'm going to miss the rest of the afternoon.